when you go through hiccups, when you go through, non-ideal scenarios, you learn to put, and especially when you're scaling, you learn to put controls in place or provide resources that maybe were missing the first time around for these owners to help them achieve their goals and achieve, what they want out of their career. Because there's a lot of my job that is, a lot of it, 90% of it is making sure that people have what they need to be successful.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Society podcast. If you are new here, I'm Alexa Cawley. I'm the founder of Forever Friday Consulting. I spent 10 years in the corporate wellness space, working for companies like Lululemon and SoulCycle, and 4 years ago decided to start my own business and bring that expert marketing advice to everybody. On this podcast, we talk about everything from pricing, partnerships, everything that's going to grow your business and allow you to have fun doing it. If you enjoy this podcast, I would highly recommend that you hop into the Friday Society membership. You can cancel anytime. It is $50 a month, and we go way deeper into all of the topics here. So I go into live calls, webinars, workbooks, all pertaining to how to implement the learnings into your business. So you can check all that stuff out in the show notes, and let's get right to the episode. Hey guys, I hope that you absolutely love this upcoming interview. I had on Katy Richardson. She is the founder of Neighborhood Barre. They have over 25 locations all throughout America right now, and she is whip smart. I was so impressed with this conversation and with her as a leader. As soon as I posted on Instagram that I was recording with her, I got so many messages from you guys about how excited you were. So I knew I had to turn this episode around quickly. So here we go. Enjoy. Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Society. I am so stoked to be here with Katy Richardson. She is the founder of Neighborhood Barre. Now, if you guys are in the South, you obviously know this already as a household name, but Neighborhood Barre has over 25 locations, and she started this in 2011. So Katy, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to talk about everything from having multiple studios under your belt to franchising and everything involved. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I love talking about this stuff. I can nerd out on the business side for hours. So yes, I'm very excited to be here.
Amazing. Okay. 2011, walk me back to like 2010. What were you doing? When were you like, this thing is missing from my repertoire. I need to invent it. Like, walk me through that process first.
Definitely. So I think, I have kind of that true entrepreneurial spirit inside of me. It runs in my family. My grandfather was an entrepreneur with a 6th grade education in like the middle of nowhere, Kentucky. And my dad is a dentist. Well, he's retired now, but he had to run his own practice. And I never really knew what I wanted to do when I grew up or anything like that. So I told my college advisor the day they made me declare a major that I just wanted to be a board of directors. And they were like, okay, well, there's a few steps we need to take before you get there. I declared marketing as my major, and then shifted after a semester to finance. Mm-hmm. So in 2010, I was working as an internal auditor for a publicly traded aggregates company that's based in Birmingham, Alabama. And it was a great job. It was a job I was very fortunate to get at the time because, we were in that 2008 recession when I got the job, and I was really thankful for it, but I was very much not fulfilled. I was very bored. Even though it was the perfect type of job for me because it was project based and constantly doing different things, I knew I didn't want to do it long term. And I knew that I kind of wanted to be my own boss, do something for myself. And I think a lot of people that have that, probably a lot of your listeners can relate to just, you have that feeling that you can do something on your own. And I was kind of trying to, create different brands and business ventures and things in my head. And then it really clicked towards the end of 2010 when I started to see boutique fitness becoming a thing. Being in the
Yeah.
South, it came to the South a little later than it
Yeah.
did, New York, LA. And I was like, wait a
That
minute.
was a hot point. That was
Yes,
still like things were popping up and it was new and exciting. And
yes,
that was when people were still like $30 for a fitness like it was
right.
totally it was a brand new behavior for sure.
Exactly. And I was like, wait, I can totally do this. Like with my background, I cheered through high school and college, and I just started to really research it. And when bar came on the scene, I went and I took a class. I could never really join a studio because my job required me to travel so much. Between 1 and 3 weeks a month I was on the road. So, but that also allowed me, when I was on the road, to find fitness studios and, these new things popping up, and experience multiple brands, or just even an independent studio, start dabbling in Pilates and bar and things of that nature. And when I saw that this was a scalable business that people were, really making a decent living out of, I was like completely sold that I can do this. I know I can do this. I have the background, between my education, my work experience, and then my fitness background.
Yeah.
So I made the decision to quit my job in, I think I ended up quitting. I put in my 2 week notice in May of 2011.
Wow.
And because my job was project based, all I had to do was wrap up what I was working on, and then
Okay.
they were like, "You're good. You can go on." So I had a few months of being what we called fun employed before before I made the move to Knoxville to actually open the first studio in October of 2011.
Wow. What made you decide on bar? What is it about that modality that you were like, this is the one that I'm going to do?
Sure. The reason bar really clicked with me is because it felt energetic and athletic,
Mhm.
and coming from a cheer background, it just felt very familiar. The speed of it, the energy of it. And of course, every bar studio is different. There were methods that I tried when I was on the road that were slower, that didn't really land with me as much. But I saw also how there was enough variety in it.
Mhm.
I was also a certified yoga instructor at the time. And so it was really easy for me to see how, obviously there's many different styles of yoga. There are also many different styles of bar. I
Mhm.
personally resonate with that Lottie Burke based traditional bar. And then as I've developed our signature technique at Neighborhood Barre, I've been able to really take that into a place that feels different from all the other brands, yet familiar enough that if you are that kind of like classic bar loving person,
Yeah.
you feel those elements in our classes as well.
Yeah. Which is so important. I love that you mentioned that of like when you go into a new place, you can't necessarily rinse and repeat. Like you do need to sort of mold to that community. So that's a really interesting
Absolutely.
point.
And
Yeah.
you don't have to. You
Yeah.
don't have to completely reinvent a wheel.
Yeah.
And especially, and I think it's very important to not try to force something that doesn't feel right.
Mhm.
And I think that's what I was doing with yoga. And it's because, well, and also I had a very severe cheerleading injury in college. So I wasn't able to do what I consider traditional workouts anymore. I couldn't do anything with impact.
Mhm.
And so that actually led me down the path of discovering more non-traditional fitness. And it did start with
Mhm.
yoga, was like my gateway drug
Mhm.
into non-traditional fitness, and which, like I said, then led to Pilates. Then I found bar. And once I found bar, I was like, this is it, the fatigue that I was looking for, the speed. But again, being able to know what the consumer wants,
Mhm.
and then listening to feedback, making subtle adjustments, and
Mhm.
being able to really create something that feels unique but not foreign to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So 2011. So you opened the studio. What was it like in the very beginning being a new studio owner for the first time? How were you getting people into class? Were there moments that no one showed up? Like, walk me through some of those moments.
Oh, definitely. I mean, of course, there were moments when no one showed up. I had no idea what I was doing. And I mean, literally, like, zero idea. And I am very much a, figure it out as you go personality. And I know that that's not everyone's personality, but I knew that I could do it,
Mhm.
and I also knew I didn't know everything. So I went into it with an open mind of knowing that I had a lot to learn about customer service,
Mhm.
how to treat a client.
Yeah.
Now, with my auditing job,
Yeah.
our clients were internal because we audited internally,
Mhm.
but I was the auditor that could come in and make everybody understand that we're all on the same team. So it's like, again, I had kind of like learned this skill set of working with
Mhm.
people. But I had so much I had to learn. There were many classes no one showed up to because I'm like, what is marketing? I only did marketing for one semester.
Right.
And I learned very quickly that when you are, and I was also first to market, first bar
Mhm.
studio in
Okay.
Knoxville. So it was a lot of educating the market. It was a lot of learning how to integrate into the community. I think I was very lucky. I listened to this internal voice that was pushing me to Knoxville, which is not a place I would have ever, if when I lived in Birmingham, if you said, what do you think about living in Knoxville? I'd be like, sounds super lame and no thank you, and orange is not my color. So, but throughout the process of getting here, I had to listen to my intuition
Yeah.
and not swim upstream. And when things were falling together so easily and so quickly, I went with it.
Mhm.
And I was embraced by the community from day one.
Yeah.
Lululemon came to market the exact same time as me. They were stoked that there was a boutique fitness studio, other than a few yoga studios we had sprinkled
Yeah.
around. So they really helped to integrate me into the community.
Yeah.
And think about it, this was Lululemon 12 years ago.
Yeah,
It was when,
that was right around the time I started there. That was my
yeah,
job, was like
yes,
connecting with the local studio. It was honestly so magical, like that we
it
were able
was.
to have that synergy and just support studios. And yeah, that it is just like a truly magical thing that happened.
Yes, it was. And the staff here, I mean, it was just a pop up
Yeah.
location,
Oh.
turned into now there's two stores here, but that original staff was absolutely amazing at embracing the
Mhm.
community, bringing us all together, helping us not feel so competitive. Because
Mhm.
shortly after I opened, boom, things start popping
Mhm.
up, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But you get a little territorial, at that time. And but yeah, so they really helped a lot and connected me with people, and the community in Knoxville was amazing and really rallied around me and, helped me learn how to have good customer service, how to treat people, and I was 27 years old. So I
Wow.
had a lot to learn about a lot of things when I
Yeah.
first opened.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Okay. So did you always know that you wanted to do franchise, or, you were so young and opening your first studio, like what was sort of swirling through your head around expansion? What did you start thinking? Were you like, maybe I can do this and own all these
Mhm.
studios? What were your thoughts?
Yes. So, I mean, you pretty much just described it. I absolutely researched purchasing a franchise versus starting my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say now that I own and run a franchise, my view on franchising is very different from what it was at the time.
Huh.
At the time, it felt twofold. It felt like, one, yes, I don't want to be just a single studio owner. Now, again, that was owning a single studio versus what I do. I'm like, maybe
Yeah.
I should have just kept my two locations, and because it's two different businesses,
Yeah.
completely different businesses. So I think there's a lot of things for people to think about, especially if you have listeners who have their own concept and are thinking of franchising. Think very, very hard about it, because it's a long road and it's very difficult. And I also think that there is a misconception that, and I think that some franchises have created this misconception that it's more expensive to join a franchise than it is to do it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
I think that depends on the franchise you join.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
if you're joining a franchise, you really need to do that research.
Yeah.
So I'm very scrappy,
Mhm.
and I do like nice things, but I also am very fiscally conservative when it
Mhm.
comes to maintaining profit margins and things like that. So
Yeah.
I would say that with our franchise, the way that I set it up from the start so that people would want to be a part of it, other than just, the method we created, is running your business lean and mean to maximize your profit margins. But not
Mhm.
every franchise is like that. I think
Mm.
because the franchises I were researching and interviewing with had not that same reputation, it felt
Mhm.
like it would be easier for me to start my own. And also, I wanted to create a brand. I wanted to create the method. I don't always work well with others when it comes to answering to other people who are trying to make me do something that isn't the same vision as mine.
Yeah.
You can confirm that with my old manager, Kevin Jackson at Vulcan Materials Company. But there were a lot of reasons. And, 12 years later, like, I've also changed a lot as a person who
Mm.
works with other people. I have to work with people. I love working with other people. And I think
Mhm.
it's just finding the right thing to bring out the best in someone
Mhm.
versus, again, trying to work in an environment that isn't the best fit for you. So for me,
Yeah.
starting my own brand was the best fit for me. I loved the challenge. I
Mhm.
loved creating the method. I loved, the branding aspect of it.
Mhm.
As the company has grown, I don't have the bandwidth to spend in the same places as I did when I first started, but
Mm.
that is what was the best decision for me.
Mhm. So at what point did you turn it franchise? Is that even the right language? Like, at what
Mhm.
point did you go from being the sole owner to being franchised?
So once I had my second location, I was actually approached by someone who was in Knoxville visiting, or not visiting, but I think working, like out of town working. And this person was like an avid bar enthusiast and
Oh.
like hadn't really been exposed to other techniques and other brands, and approached me about starting a franchise and wanted to kind of partner with me, not partner with me on the corporate sense, but in the sense of being the very first franchisee.
Yeah.
So I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. Those conversations first started in 2014. So I had, less than 2.5 years under my belt as a
Mhm.
business owner at that point. So I started really researching what you had to do to franchise. Franchising is highly regulated by the Federal Trade Commission. There's a lot of legalities. It's expensive to set it up.
Mm.
My studios, though, were super cranking at the time. I had worked out this insane deal on my second location that I was cash flowing it from day one.
Wow.
It's like, just I took advantage of those opportunities, and
Yeah.
then I had the cash to reinvest into starting to build that franchise model.
Mhm.
So that's what I started to do at the time. And my whole philosophy from day one, since I was kind of going alone, was I would rather try to do this and fail than look back and wonder, what if I hadn't
Mhm.
done it?
Mhm.
And I was so young at the time too, and had my accounting to fall back on, that it just made sense for me to take those leaps at the
Mhm.
time.
Mhm. Yeah. So, okay, so you started having conversations with her or with this person, and they were like, "I want a franchise," and then you started looking into it. When did they get to open up that studio?
So we opened our first franchise location at the very end of 2014,
Wow.
and then the second one in 2015.
Okay.
And then we got a handful under our belt by 2016. I believe we have 5 or 6 locations by
Wow.
that time. And my whole journey of building the business has been kind of like build and pull back and
Mhm.
stabilize, and grow more and pull back and stabilize.
Mhm.
And so just adding a handful of locations here and there.
Mhm.
Now, 2 of those locations that we added kind of pre COVID did end up closing for one reason or another. One was a landlord dispute, one was, the just
Yeah.
ending of a lease, not very present ownership. Had to
Yeah.
make the decision for the brand to kind of shut that one down. But then it's like you would kind of like get those two out and then quickly replace with a couple more.
Yeah.
And I was really going through that franchising process of realizing that my original franchise attorney was not a franchise attorney.
Oh.
He was a real estate attorney. And so then having to like repay to get all of my disclosures redone in 2015. And, I didn't really have anyone guiding me on what to do or how to do it.
Mhm.
I didn't know anybody. And I
Mhm.
didn't know there weren't a lot of people in the fitness industry that were really doing like what you do, for instance,
Mhm.
and particularly not advising people on how to build a franchise. So
Mhm.
again, I kind of embarked on this new world that is not the same at all as running a fitness studio, which I had gotten very good at, and
Mhm.
then had to almost start all over of learning a whole new business, a whole new industry, a whole new way to communicate with people and colleagues and coworkers, vendors, scaling. Like it's
Yeah.
very different from running studios.
Yeah. This is just such a fascinating story. You are just so smart at all of this. I just like I want to pick your brain forever. Something that you mentioned is, you had a leader that wasn't necessarily the most present and you had to make that decision. I imagine as someone who started a brand, you feel a certain tie to it, right? Like you feel a
Oh,
certain
yes.
level of, I need to keep this consistent and my vision. How, scaling quickly as you have and having over 25 locations, how do you manage that? Of like, if someone's doing something maybe differently than you would have, or, branding looks a little bit different, like, how do you kind of manage that and like the inconsistencies, so to speak?
Definitely. So I'm going to walk it back to what you first said
Yeah.
about kind of feeling very like protective of what you're building.
Yeah.
So I think there's like a heavy emotional component that goes into owning any business, because
Hmm.
something that you start and create, even if you're buying a franchise,
Hmm.
it's still your business when you open that. And there's still things you want to do your own way, which is completely fine.
Hmm.
My struggle in the beginning, when I was faced with these challenges, was wanting to save it. So I spent, everything I look back was like a lesson learned to help me handle a potentially similar situation in a completely different way and in a better way, more efficient way, in a less emotional way than I did the first time.
Hmm.
So, with that first studio that you mentioned, I very much thought I can save this. I want to swoop in, I'm going to save it. I'm going to fix this problem. And it took me many months to learn that sometimes your bandwidth is better spent just letting something go and putting your time and energy into the places of your business that are fulfilling you, emotionally, and not sucking your bandwidth, sucking your energy,
Hmm.
keeping you up at night. And
Yeah.
so I think that is a lesson that I wish I had learned a little sooner, but I had to go through that in order to get to the other side of it and reflect on it and realize that another person's failures are not necessarily my failures. Like if I
Mhm.
know that I'm doing everything I can, and going above and beyond even what's expected of me from what our disclosures say to what I actually do to support one of our owners in one of our studios, then it's not necessarily something that I need to carry with me emotionally
Mhm.
as a failure, right?
Mhm.
But I don't know how much you know about the Enneagram. I'm an Enneagram 3.
Okay.
I listened to the human design episode that you did. I'm also a generator.
Are you? That someone
Yes,
told me I think that they think I'm a 3, but I've never done it before, so I have to do it after this.
you will see, not to derail, but you'll see once you do your Enneagram, it's going to
Yeah.
say exactly what your human design says, which is going to say almost exactly what your astrology birth chart says. Like they
Yeah.
all say the same thing in a different
Yeah.
way.
I love that you're a generator. I can like
Yes.
feel that for sure.
Yes, yes. So, but all of that to say, it when you go through hiccups, when you go through, non-ideal scenarios, you learn to put, and especially when you're scaling, you learn to put controls in place or provide resources that maybe were missing the first time around for these owners to help them achieve their goals and
Mhm.
achieve, what they want out of their career. Because there's a lot of my job that is a lot of it, 90% of it is making sure that people have what they need to be successful.
Mm. Mhm.
So, you kind of have to stumble and reflect and realize what could have been missing that could, where you could have avoided, one of these situations. And so that goes along with everything you were saying, providing proper controls, proper guidelines. I will say I've been really fortunate to not really have that much of an issue with branding or people wanting to deviate from our method. I think
Mm-hmm.
what drew people to Neighborhood Barre to begin with is our workout and our overarching branding and messaging. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's what attracts
That's
them to
what they
begin
love.
with. So
Yeah.
they're not typically trying to deviate from that, necessarily do their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are deviating and wanting to do your own thing, then maybe you are the type of entrepreneur that needs to do your own thing and not
Mm-hmm.
become part of a franchise. And
Mm-hmm.
there's gifts in joining a franchise, but if those gifts are not checking your boxes, then that's your answer of it's not the
Yeah.
right fit for you.
Yeah. It does seem that it sort of is like the best of both worlds, right? Where like you can have your own thing, you can do your own marketing, do your own community outreach, like have a blast, right? Like so like no red tape, but that you do also sort of have that support of the larger company and all the other studio owners. Like that really seems like they're walking into a pretty good situation, I would say.
Definitely, it can be. I think just like any company you would join, like if to get a job, like as an accountant, if I were to interview multiple accounting firms, like I would find one that whose like culture and fit is the right fit for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So I think what we prioritize at Neighborhood Barre on the corporate side, if for our franchisees, is giving them the tools that they need in regards to marketing resources,
Yeah.
trying to make sure that we're leveraging our economies of scale to pass savings along to our franchisees versus using every single opportunity as another corporate revenue stream. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times in franchising, what happens is unless you have 50 plus locations, it can be very difficult for the corporate entity to even turn a profit.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about it, the majority of the franchise fee, unless you're price gouging your franchise fee, which they're putting laws in place where you can't really do that as much anymore, which we've never done,
Yeah.
but you're spending the majority of that on the onboarding and getting the owner set up to
Mm-hmm.
even get started. And then you are collecting a percentage of gross sales every month as a royalty. Our royalty is 6%, and then we have a 1% ad fund. And, so you think 6% of gross sales in the bar industry is not necessarily a huge payday every single month.
Yeah.
So we would need to have a lot of locations in order to have like a huge corporate staff. And if you really start looking into it, these franchises that don't have a huge corporate staff but run more of a skeleton crew
Mm-hmm.
are usually passing those savings along to their franchisees, providing the resources for the franchisees to be successful. Because I've always said I would rather have, 25 super strong locations than 100 that keep me up at night,
Mm-hmm.
because that doesn't do us any good to run around trying to manage people who aren't getting proper support and spinning out of control. It's
Mm-hmm.
much easier to try to build just a more solid foundation. And then, like I said, grow, stabilize, grow, stabilize. We have been in that stabilization phase again, kind of like up until now. And then we've gotten our Fran development moving this fall. We finalized a new location yesterday. We've got another one in the pipeline, a couple of new owners coming in as transfers, like buying existing studios, which is always super exciting. And so, yeah, I think when you're looking at a franchise, you need to look at the culture of the
Yeah.
company, just like you would if you were applying for a job anywhere, and making sure that that franchise is actually prioritizing the franchisees over the corporate entity.
Yeah. That is such great advice. Did you ever have someone who wanted to own a franchise that you didn't maybe think was a good fit, or someone that you said no to?
There's been a lot of people, and our style of when we're vetting an owner, I mean, it's never just like a flat out no.
Mm-hmm.
What we do is we have conversations. We want to make sure that that owner is fully aware of what it takes
Yeah.
to open a studio, what it takes to emotionally, financially, and
Mm-hmm.
bandwidth wise to really be successful at what you're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody has different goals. Everybody has different financial goals. You know, some people need to replace an income. Some people do it as a passion project, but you're not going to do it as a passion project forever if you're not making
Yeah.
money. So, you know, you have to really get an idea of what, you know, this potential owner wants out of it. And I would say a lot of times, if we're not aligned, then the conversations just kind of fizzle out. It's
Mm-hmm.
never been like this, you know, boardroom conversation of you're just not a good fit.
Yeah.
It just organically, we go in different directions.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I'm like getting images of when like you go to adopt a dog, right? And it's like, are you
Right.
emotionally capable? Are you going to love
Yes.
it? Are you going to nurture it? Like, it feels
Yes.
very similar to that. It's
Yes.
so funny. Wow. Okay. This has been so fascinating, but we're going to move into rapid fire questions. But last question, what do you think Neighborhood Barre is best in the world at?
I really think that one of our superpowers, which coincidentally came out of COVID when I was forced to really
Mhm.
streamline our method, is that our signature class, which is Bar 50, and really all of our classes truly do cater to all fitness levels.
Mhm.
And it's not just because of the exercises we're doing, it's the style that we train our instructors on how to deliver the choreography, the class. And we don't script our instructors, but we script very signature things that allow them to cater to all fitness levels, put it that way.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
whether you have never worked out before, whether you you know, used to be a dancer and then, you know, had a career and a family and didn't prioritize yourself for 25 years and you walk through the doors, or if you're a bar enthusiast and you know, stumble upon our studio or you run marathons, literally our style and the way we deliver the choreography can cater to any fitness level from
Mhm.
0 to 100.
Mhm. I love that. Okay, ready for rapid fire questions?
Sure.
Okay. Number one, what is your favorite move in class? Like favorite part of class?
My favorite part of class is the seat work
Oh,
and
okay.
all of the glute exercises. I love them. You know, I have a lot of like flowing transitions that I've written into the choreography and seat work that are very like kind of Tracy Anderson esque, you know,
Uh-huh.
and just super fun. And I think I can get really creative with seat work, and I love the way it feels too.
I love that. And afterwards, we always feel like
Yes,
glute exercises specifically, you're always like, okay, I did something. Like I definitely
exactly.
put in work. I love that. I'm curious about this one, software that you can't run your business without.
Okay, this might surprise you, Zapier.
Does not surprise me. It is my
Okay,
favorite thing in the whole world. I'm
yes.
obsessed, obsessed, obsessed.
It literally opens up a whole new world of what you
Yeah.
can do
Yep.
with every other software that
Yes.
you use. I love
Yes.
it.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. I talk about Zapier a lot in the membership. So just for everybody listening, Zapier is a software that it ties one program to another. So if you want to connect your booking software to your email platform, or if you want to, like I use it sometimes to like back up Instagram posts, like it'll pull
Oh,
from my
interesting.
Instagram and drop my captions into Google Drive, like just so that I never lose them. So there's so much you can do. I love that. What booking software are you guys on?
We're on Mariana Tech, or
Oh,
I
you
guess
are. Okay.
Explore. We're under the Explore
Yeah.
umbrella right now.
Okay. Got it. Awesome. All right. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh my gosh. Probably France. If it was
Ooh.
in, or actually, let me
Huh?
walk that back. St. Bart's, because it is a French
Oh,
island
these
on
are
my
good
time zone.
ones.
So
These are good ones. We'll do like a marketing retreat in St. Bart's.
I'm totally in, but do not put me on that ferry because I've been there once. I was like, am I actually on Deadliest Catch? Like, what is this? So
Oh, that's
I'll take
hilarious.
15 minutes of being terrified on the tiny plane next time instead of 45 minutes of being terrified on a ferry.
That's so funny. That's a really good question, like an icebreaker. Would you rather be terrified on a boat or terrified on a plane?
I think a plane.
Oh man. All right. Advice you would give your younger self.
There's so much advice I would give my younger self, but I would say that the number one thing is to learn to ask people for help
Mm-hmm.
instead of trying to do everything on your own. You know, again, like just going back to even, how you've shifted your career into more of a coaching style and marketing,
Mm.
I should have sought out that type of coaching and help a lot sooner in my career. I think the way it worked out for me is the way it worked out, and my timing was actually, like, in hindsight, could not have been better.
Mhm.
But that is what I wish I had done sooner.
Mhm.
Because I could have saved like six figures if I
Yeah.
had. So
I know. I had a lawyer on the podcast recently, and he said something which was really awesome. He said, I always tell clients you can pay me now or pay me later. And like,
exactly.
pay me now. Like, just set yourself up, get the trademark, get the LLC, do the thing, pay me now so that you're not paying me in 10 years from now when you need to send out cease and desists and like do all these,
Right.
all these things that you might, yeah, you'll overpay for sure.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. Do you have a dream job besides what you're doing now? Like something totally different?
No. I mean, other than being a board of directors one day, no.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
I love
love
what
it.
I'm doing. I think, if I were to predict that I would be doing this, I would have,
Hmm.
it's what I always wanted to do.
Hmm.
I don't think I would have predicted how hard it is,
Hmm.
because it's been like a really difficult, now highs and lows, right? Like the highs are incredible, but the lows can be really difficult to push through at times. But I think that obviously, like, I was kind of made to do it, or I wouldn't still be doing it. I've had opportunities to exit, and I've chosen not to take those opportunities, and keep seeing what I can do as far as just continuing to build and scale.
I love that so much. Okay, these last two are my favorite. I know your answer for this one. Done is better than perfect. True or false?
That is true.
Hmm.
Always true.
Hmm. It's so I've had a few people be like false, and I was like, really? What do you mean?
Mm-mm.
But it's so interesting to see people's answers.
Well,
Um,
yeah, and I see that from just, providing, obviously we do a ton of business coaching with the franchisees. It's like,
mhm.
do something, don't try to make it perfect before you execute, and then AAR
Refine.
it and make it
Yep.
better the next time.
Yep. Yeah. What is it? It's something like launch then iterate or something, which I love. What does it mean to be a great business owner?
Ooh, that's tough. I think that great business owners provide great customer service.
Mhm.
And I think that that is something that I had to really learn. And that is something I did ask for help for, when I was first getting started. And great customer service builds deeper relationships with your customers and clients, no matter what industry you're in. It can be retail customer service. You can run retail just like you run a service industry.
Mhm.
So I think that that is a huge component that I'm about to write down on a piece of paper we need to add to our onboarding program for new franchisees. So thank you.
I love that. Katie, this is phenomenal. This has been so fantastic. Thank you so much. Where can people take class? How can they find a studio near them? How can they, reach out to you, tell you that they love the episode? Give us all the things.
Definitely. So our corporate Instagram is neighborhood_bar.
Mhm.
So we kind of manage that from a corporate level. There's a link tree from there where you can get to all of the things you just mentioned. We have an on-demand platform. We have still have our live stream platform. We are in the process of kind of combining the two to do something a little bit innovative in our space, which I'm super excited about. And franchise inquiries you can do from that link tree, or simply just DM us on that Instagram. I am a lot of times the one that answers those DMs. You can tell that it's me because the posting is very inconsistent. So also, if anyone is interested in being a social media intern, hit me up. But really, and then obviously our website, neighborhoodbar.com. We have, as you said, 25 studios in 12 different states, continuing to expand. We're really excited about the future. So you can go to our locations page on our website, see if there's anything close to you. If there's not, definitely try a free month of on demand, because that's another good way to kind of just experience our workout.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for this, and we'll chat soon. All right, guys, you made it to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. If you haven't left a review yet, I would be so, so grateful. I read every single one, and they help me, they help the podcast, they help my visibility. So definitely encourage you to do that. And if the content of the episode was relevant to you, if it helped you with your business, I would love it if you shared it to your stories or if you sent it to a friend. That is it. I will see you next week. And again, thank you so much for being here.